With the second pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the New York Jets select Zach Wilson, quarterback, BYU.
New York Jets up. New York Jets up. New York Jets up.
Dikembe.
You're all up in the game. You don't deserve to be a player. Don't make me have to call your name out. You're all up in the game and don't deserve to be a player.
Hello and welcome to Three the Hard Way Sports Podcast. This is Bryan Galloway here, and it is a crazy day here in sports. There's so many things going on. We have so much to talk about. I am here with, from Parts Unknown, Michael Pipersek. How are you, Mike?
I'm first. I'm doing great now.
That's bullshit.
Because if you're not first, you're last.
There you go.
Ricky Bobby's.
And from Rumson, New Jersey, we have Alex Shanley. How are you, Alex?
I'm doing good, Bryan. You're right. I will echo it. It is a great time of year for sports with everything going on. So a lot to talk about.
Crazy time. Okay, well, we have a lot of things going on. I mean, we have a couple things that we've thought about. There's probably more. Let's talk about. There has been some really, really sad days in sports recently. We had two people who passed away, and we can each give our perspective. Dikembe Mutumbo, I mean, just a wonderful human being who's done so much for people and for poverty and for underprivileged people, and just a wonderful ambassador for basketball and for other things, passed away. Very sad. I didn't even know he had brain cancer. And I don't know who know it. It wasn't really out there. I don't know what happened, but just a wonderful human being. Pretty much not many people could say bad things about him. Obviously one of the best defensive players of all time in the NBA, Hall of Famer. Great player at Georgetown too. And the other one that passed away, and again, I definitely want to hear your guys' perspectives, is a guy that I really liked. And I didn't like him as much as a player because he was a pain in the behind. He was always winning. He was on some great teams that always beat my teams. And I never liked the whole thing when he had the fight with Bud Harrelson and everything. But later on in life, I used to go to, his bar was really close to my mom's house in Florida. And so we used to go to his bar and he'd bartend. He was the nicest guy. I remember a couple of times we'd sit there and watch football games on Sundays, and Pete would be behind the, pouring beers and just, shooting the breeze with us like a regular guy. And except for the fact that his brother was sometimes there, and his brother looks just like him, but heavier. So I remember the first time I saw him, I go, wow, Pete's gained a lot of weight. And then it was his brother, and I didn't know. But I have to tell you, my interactions with him, and I probably had more interactions with him than any other star player in my life because we went to that bar so much. He was the nicest man. He was always nice, never a jerk. Again, he had this persona, but I didn't see that. And so then I started getting softer on the whole thing. I'm like, I don't know. He's the greatest hitter of all time, most hits. And I don't think, the Hall of Fame is not a Hall of Fame based on how you are. I think eventually they had to let him in, but they didn't. And I feel really sad that he died without ever knowing that he made the Hall of Fame. Okay, so what are your thoughts? Mike, why don't you go first?
Yeah, I'll start with Dikembe Mutumbo. This one hit me hard because I was not a Georgetown fan. I think, Bryan, you were a Georgetown fan, so I was not a Georgetown fan. But Dikembe came out of nowhere. He was partnered up with Alonzo Mourning there at Georgetown. He was a first-round pick of the Nuggets. He was number 4 overall, and I was like, well, this guy can't really score. Is he going to be an effective NBA player because he was so limited offensively? But he turned himself, as you said, into one of the best defensive players ever, a shot blocking machine and a Hall of Famer. And he only averaged maybe 9 or 10 points a game for his career, but it was all on the defensive end, right? He made the All-Star team 8 times. He was 4-time Defensive Player of the Year, and he definitely deserved all of those. And he orchestrated probably one of the biggest upsets in NBA playoff history. The first time an 8 seed beat a 1 seed when the Nuggets upset the Sonics, and there's this iconic image of Dikembe after they won the game, lying on the court, with his back on the ground, the ball over his head, and just this joyous look on his face. And that was when the first round was 3 out of 5. And I think soon after that, the NBA said we can't have 1 seeds losing to 8. So let's make it 4 out of 7, make it a little bit harder. But it was just great watching Dikembe play. The finger wag was fantastic when he blocked shots. I found it so comical, but his impact was far greater, as you said, off the court as a humanitarian. He was from the Democratic Republic of Congo and just did so much to expand the game in Africa. He was an inspiration for many players that have come out of Africa. Joel Embiid has come out and talked about his influence as a young man growing up in Cameroon, because I don't think anybody in Africa viewed basketball as an option for themselves to pursue their athletic career and kind of lift their families out of poverty and bring visibility to those communities. So, and he was just, like you said, Bryan, just a wonderful person, had that like big booming laugh, spoke 9 languages, English probably his worst one, right? He had that deep grumbling voice, and they compared him to Cookie Monster, which was hysterical, and I think he had a ball with it. So for me, Dikembe, when I heard he died, and the fact that it was brain cancer, that was one where I thought, wow, that's someone that was giving so much to society, gone too soon. So that one was kind of hard for me to take, because I did love Dikembe. Always had a smile on his face, and that's what you want from athletes, right? They're playing a child's game, making tons of money to bring joy to people, and some of them are so grumpy, and he just loved every minute of it. Loved it.
Yeah, I mean, I was shocked to find out he was in the Hall of Fame. I mean, I don't mean to cast any aspersions here, but I mean, definitely because he's a great guy.
No, because remember, basketball Hall of Fame is unlike different Hall of Fames. It's the whole body of work. It's high school, college, pros.
But he didn't win anything in college. I mean, he won games, but they never won a championship, right? I watched him lose to a Villanova team in Philadelphia. He and Mourning, and they had no business losing to him. Anyway, I mean, great humanitarian, Mike. I think you said it perfectly, and I honestly, I was shocked that he was in the Hall of Fame. And
I think it could be, though, that humanitarian activity could have played a role in that as well. Like Bryan said, it's the full body of work, and so his role as a global ambassador, I think, probably helped him as well, because the stats are not impressive.
Right.
9.8 points, 10 rebounds, 3 blocks. It's not awe-inspiring by any means.
Right.
Well, he interned in Congress and the World Bank. The guy, he was a smart dude. He was definitely not your typical NBA player.
And he grew the sport. Grew the sport in Africa and all that, which again, that should get him into the Hall of Fame. I think those are great things, sort of like Yao Ming, right? Like, the ability to spread the sport into, a whole new country or many countries. And so, and I think you're right, Bryan, like really, really smart guy. And Mike said spoke 9 languages and all that stuff. So just seemed like a great person. And, it stinks. Like I said before the episode started, and we're losing somebody every week. We're talking about somebody else passing away. So it's just terrible that we lost Dikembe. And like Mike said, to brain cancer, it's just a terrible thing. So,
all these athletes that are like older are looking around at each other like, uh-oh.
I know. Who's next? And as it goes for Pete Rose, Bryan, you obviously had a lot of interaction with him, which was, very cool. I was never a fan for him, as a kid, just because of the.
That's exactly how I felt, though. Yeah, I was the same, Alex. That's why it changed my whole opinion of him meeting him.
Right.
You got Ray Foss in an All-Star game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All-Star game.
And Fossey was never the same after that.
No.
But for me, he should not be in the Hall of Fame. His stats are in the Hall of Fame, which is fine. His name's there. Saying, hey, he has the most hits, all that's great, but he bet on baseball and he bet on his own team that he was managing, and I'll take a strong stand. He should not be in the Hall of Fame. He should not have a plaque there for his accomplishments in baseball, for what he did. Like I said, his numbers are there, but I don't think that he should be there for that, because If he gets in, then it's just going to be like a waterfall of and I believe that they're gambling already, but more and more players gambling, right? And the whole fallout from Bart Giamatti passing away, and um, during the whole scenario that he had to rule on it was just a mess. So I will stand with, he should not be in the Hall of Fame, nor should Barry Bonds for that matter. And but their numbers will be. So that's the way I feel about it.
Yeah, I'm with Alex on Pete Rose. Fantastic player, and he was just maddening when it came to the gambling thing.
But you
Because
know something? He paid. So again, guys, he had to wait 30 years. Like that's enough time. Like I think he paid his price. That's what I don't understand. I think he paid his price. Maybe he didn't. I don't know. But they made him wait. He missed out on all those opportunities. Johnny Bench and Joe Morgan and Tony Perez and all those Reds from the Big Red Machine were making the Hall
But
of Fame.
how many years did he deny doing it?
it
I
was
don't
not
know.
until
Yeah.
2004
Yeah,
that he wrote a book.
until he came out with a book, right?
Exactly.
Till he was going to get paid for it. Then he said, "Yeah, I did it," and he got paid for saying, "Yeah, I did it."
But then he tried to justify, well, I only bet on the Reds to win. I only bet on
Right.
my team to win. You're like, oh.
Yeah, but
So I feel like baseball tried, right? And Bud Selig said, okay, here's an opportunity for reinstatement, right? And he put these conditions in place. You need to come clean, no more casino appearances, no more gambling. And it's like, here you go. This is what we need you to do, because gambling is such a heinous crime within a sport, right? Because it damages the integrity of the game. So they said these are the things you need to do. You cannot be at all associated with gambling. And Pete Rose kind of decided that doing those things was more important than being reinstated. I don't know if that's because he's stubborn. He's like, screw you, it's my way. I'm gonna and like you said, Brian, he as a result died not getting into the Hall of Fame. I think there was a path for him to get back in, to be reinstated, but he just wouldn't go all the way with baseball on that. And so I kind of feel like he did it to himself there. It's the unforgivable sin to
I
gamble.
know. It's so funny because I couldn't stand the guy when he played. Because he was that much of a competitor. You had to hate. He was one of those guys you hate, but he always get hits. He always get. I was there when he broke the record at Shea Stadium. He broke the National League hit record. I was there that day. I saw that. And just like I saw my whole, my memory of Mutombo was, I was on a business trip in Denver and I went to the game they beat Seattle, they upset Seattle. That was like the craziest thing ever. My only time I ever went to see the Nuggets play in that arena, and I think it was McNichols Arena then. I don't think it still is.
Yes.
I don't
Yeah.
think it's something new now, but I saw that, and that's what I'll always remember in Mutombo from that. Even though he did other things in his career, like that was a monster upset. But with Pete, it was just so weird that, like, I remember my wife and I. There was one New Year's Eve. We used to go. We go down to Florida a lot to visit my mom around then, and we went to Pete Rose's first and had a couple of beers or drinks, and then we went to dinner at Wilt Chamberlain's that night. So there was two of the most famous athletes of all time. Where we met, and my wife's like, whatever. Who are these guys? I don't know who they are, right? And
Yeah.
I'm like, this is the coolest thing in the world. But I'll never forget that. Like that was a crazy New Year's Eve night that we did that. But I'm telling you, every time we went there and hung out, he was the nicest man in the world. So I don't know, but again, maybe he was putting on a face. I don't know, but maybe the competition is different, or he's a gambler. So gambling is an addiction, just like drugs and just like everything else. But nobody keeps people out of the Hall of Fames for drugs or alcoholism. So I don't know. I just think that he paid his price. I did not he did not deserve it, 20 years ago, but okay, now he deserves it now. But anyway, okay, he's dead. It's done. Not much you can do, right? Now what can you do? What can you
Yep.
do?
Uh,
Yeah, I know, guys. That's okay. So so next let's talk about another crazy thing. Um, this P Diddy craziness that's going on. Okay, so P Diddy's being investigated and these crazy parties he's had, and Now they're implicating professional athletes. At first they were doing movie stars and stuff, and who cares what those idiots do? But they're implicating a lot of NBA players. And I was just talking to somebody who said that he knows there's going to be more coming out. We're going to hear more soon. Like, obviously Barkley's name was mentioned. LeBron was mentioned.
What?
So
LeBron?
yes, no joke. I'm not
Steph
telling a
Curry.
lie right now. Now, again, I don't know what he was mentioned, but he was there hanging
Curry.
out. Maybe he went and just didn't do anything, but he was there hanging out at these parties. So we're going to hear more. Now, again, I don't know how much is going to come out. This is just like the whole Epstein list. You never get to see the Epstein list. They hid it because you're never going to know all the people. But we're gonna.
Yeah, I question, like, whatever came of that? Nothing. Right? Epstein's list. Nothing ever came of it.
Well, did you ever see it? Like, I never saw it. They never published it.
I think you can find it. I think what was published was what was in the court documents. I think.
Yeah, like the prince and all those people. But obviously, both presidential candidates were hanging out there. It's I don't know, but I let's see what happens, because this is pretty
good
crazy.
Try there.
But they both were right. They're both in pictures from there.
Who? Bill Clinton?
No, Trump and Kamala were both were there.
At Diddy's parties?
No, not at Diddy's, at Epstein's. I'm sorry. No, at Diddy's party. No, Clinton was probably at both. Yeah, he was probably at both. Any party, he'd be there. But yeah, it's just nuts. It's just nuts. So I don't know what's going to happen.
Here's the ones from Epstein's: Prince Andrew, Bill Richardson, Bill Clinton, Donald Trump, Michael Jackson. So like came out, but what, like, okay, like it never.
Michael Jackson.
Yeah, these were on the list in the court documents. So I don't know. I think the same thing's going to happen with P. Diddy. It's going to be like, oh yeah, they were on the list. Like, do you think it's going to affect them? I don't know. Can it be proven? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, what can they prove at this point? Yeah.
I just.
But it's just so weird. It's just, again, it just baffles me that these people are so rich where they just don't watch what they do. But I mean, that's just the stupidity of the world. You have so much money, but like, example, Hassan Reddick, he's losing more money per game than I make in a year. Like, how can people do that? That's crazy.
Well, he's standing on a principle. I don't know, saying the Jets lied to him, so he's not going to play for them. That's kind of what he's saying, from what I get. But you're right, and at what cost?
Yeah, when the principal costs you money, like, he should have just shown up and just got injured the first day, and then that hate to say that, but because he would have been a Jet, but it just makes no sense to me. I'm not like, again, we're talking about, we're gonna segue into other things, but the whole Davante Adams thing, I don't know if I want him on the Jets. Well, he would be great to get him on the Jets. I am not a big fan of the professional athlete, the Anthony Davises of the world and stuff, like people that hold out and they don't play because they're pissed off, but they still make millions of dollars. And they've signed a contract, and they signed their name, and they agree to a contract, but they don't play because they're unhappy and they want to be traded. So they're trying to, quote unquote, force the trade. But like all of us who, work for a living, and we see that, and we're just like, yeah, if we did that, we'd have no money. We'd be able to pay our bills. But these guys can get away with doing that, and I just don't like that type of players. I don't know if I want him on the Jets, but it would be. I'm not going to send him away. But I'm just not sure if that's the type of athlete I like nowadays. But again, maybe I'm old, and that's just the way I am.
Don't the Jets have enough receivers right now? And wouldn't getting Davante Adams bump Lazard to the bench?
Well, that's fine. He stinks. He's just playing good now. But the thing is, they need more offensive linemen. They need defensive linemen. They don't need a receiver. That's the thing. They may even need a kicker, because I think Zerline is missing too many shots.
Zerline, that's their kicker. My God, that guy's kicker.
Greg the leg. Yeah, he's
kicker's there for. Isn't Jan Stenerud still playing?
Yeah, he's still alive, maybe, but I don't think.
But Lazard is one of the people being named that would be traded away if they got him back to the Raiders.
Traded.
Yeah, because he's gonna have to be traded. So, but here, so Bryan, back to your original question. So I just did a quick, my 30-second exploration into P. Diddy Combs here. And the court filing, here are the people who are named in the court filing. Stevie J, I don't know who that is.
Stevie J.
A redacted name of a Philadelphia rapper who dated Nicki Minaj. A
That could
Grammy
be anyone.
Award-winning R&B singer who had trouble with law enforcement. Young Miami, don't know who that is. Prince Harry,
Again, where's this guy? Oh,
That
Cassie
must've been a long
Ventura,
time ago.
Bishop T.D. Jakes,
What?
Georgia Mass Choir.
the
Donald
whole choir was there?
I don't
That's a
know.
party.
Donald Lawrence, the Clark Sisters, Smokey Norfolk, Fahim Muhammad, DeForester Taylor, and Jose Cruz.
I don't know who most of those people are.
Yeah.
Jose Cruz, the guy who played for the Astros in the 80s?
Yeah.
No, it was named as the court document alleges he is the gatekeeper to all of Mr. Combs' recordings. That's Jose Cruz.
No, but there's NBA players, so there's a little.
Well, again, this is what's in the court filing. So
I
this
know.
is what's
AV
official.
list.
Yeah. So
I'll tell you after the podcast who I heard it from, but
Wow. Names.
so that's yeah. So I just think it's crazy. Okay, so again, professional athletes, be smart what you do. I don't understand. We don't want to. This is for us to even waste our time on this junk.
well, let me.
Because J Lo was there too, Alex. I mean, there's pictures of J Lo already being there.
Yeah, and Beyonce and all that.
yeah.
Yeah, but I like. How can I say this without sounding stupid? Right? What if you're invited? Right? Let's say you just become famous. Right? Like like Caitlyn Clark. Right? And she's in L.A. and all of a sudden somebody's like, "Hey, P. Diddy wants you to come to his party," and you have no idea what's going on there, right?
Yes.
And you go. Are you guilty of something?
No, you're not.
There's like the party, and then there's the after party. I think all of this stuff is the after party. So he would put it around. Well, we're raising money for some kind of event. That's the veil of that they had over these parties. So you go there 8 p.m. and you're there till like midnight, and then like normal people, you go home, and then it's like 1 a.m. and Jose Cruz pulls the curtain back.
Pulls his old Astros uniform on, and
There's 1,000 bottles of lubricant out there. I think that's when that's when you have to make that decision. Like, it's time to go.
Yeah.
But a lot of people said, "Oh, now the party starts."
Yeah.
I know. And maybe it's just because I'm jealous that I never get invited to these kind of parties. I mean,
Come
no one
on,
ever
Brian.
no one ever calls me up on the phone. Hey, Bryan, we got this crazy party, and Mike never invites me when he has one, and so
I don't know. Seems very strange, but out of my pay grade for sure.
Okay, well, yeah. So here we go, and the next thing is, I'm just laughing right now because some of these parties that we went to that you could have developed into something like that. Okay, so here we go. Let's talk about what about AJ Griffith, number 1 draft pick, comes over, signs a contract, and now leaves the NBA to be a minister. What do you think about that? Is that?
I think he, what, like they say, probably had a calling, right? Like he decided this isn't for me. I've played my whole life and I don't feel like I'm helping people the way that I want to be. And
so why doesn't he play the game of basketball, collect the money and do stuff and build new churches and do things like that, as opposed to give up the opportunity to get all that money? Is it just because he realized he can't play in the NBA?
Well, I mean, I think money,
okay.
money helps you help people, but I think you may be able to help people in a different way, whether it's religion or.
Well, I know again, you're our Three the Hard Way sports podcast religious expert. So I just don't understand. Like, I mean, again, I don't comprehend this. It's hard, but I feel like he should have at least fulfilled his contract. Again, we're talking about this generation.
Yeah, nobody fulfills their contract. Devontae Adams doesn't want to fulfill his contract, and he wants to go to your team. I mean, contracts are meaningless, I think, in sports at this point.
And also with define logic to
unfortunately
people like that. Okay,
I got to give him credit for having the guts to make this decision, because I'm sure it was not easy, right? And then his father is Adrian Griffin, right, former Seton Hall star and former Bucks coach. So he's been immersed in the game of basketball. So the pressure to continue playing basketball to honor that contract. He's only 21 years old, was probably a lot. So for him to say, I have this calling and this is how I want to, serve humanity. I'm like, wow, that's pretty impressive that he's able to and willing to make that choice and to come under scrutiny from, renowned shows like ourselves, talking about it. So I give him credit, right? I would much rather a guy say like, hey, I'm going to retire because I want to be a minister and serve people than to say, hey, I'm going to retire because I want to be on a reality TV show, or I just want to lay around the house doing nothing because I earned $4 million in, the first 2 years of my rookie contract, and hey, I could live on that forever. So I got to give the kid credit for being willing to do that after, he played at Duke, first round pick, son of a former professional player and coach. For him to walk away from all that, I think takes a lot of guts, because I'm sure even his friends are saying, what are you doing, man? It's easy money. Just sit on the bench.
Yeah.
Well, you could have gone to P. Diddy's party and,
Here's a good
Ben Simmons.
Here's a good quote from him. It says, I gave up basketball to follow Jesus. And I know that in a lot of people's eyes, it seems like a loss in the world's eyes. But I just want to let you guys know that I'm super excited because I truly get to serve God. And, with my full yes, I feel like letting go of basketball is allowing me to go into full-time ministry and truly serving the Lord with all my heart, with all my time too, as well. So that's your answer, Brian, to why can't he do basketball on that? He feels like
we're talking about it all. Yeah, we're bringing. Obviously, it's pretty wild. We're bringing up a lot of old Astros. You have Jose Cruz now, Jesus Alou. Okay.
And a little known fact that quote that Alex just read from AJ Griffin was an excerpt from Alex's retirement speech.
It was.
I am not a minister. I will tell you
was.
That.
Okay. Minister, yeah. Minister, Prime Minister P. Nice, who was my favorite minister of all time.
Get him on the show.
There you go. We have to get him on the show. Okay, so next thing as we rattle through these topics, there's so many of them right now. Robert Saleh, should he get fired? My quick answer is, of course he should. He should have been fired last year. But what do you guys think?
I don't think he should have been brought back. And I think the only reason why he was brought back is because the current GM, Aaron Rodgers, said that he wanted him back. So, the
current GM.
He is, right?
No, you're right.
He's getting all the players he wants. So I really feel bad because I think he's a really good guy. I just don't think, being a first-time coach in New York is ever easy. And he's a great defensive coordinator. I think we've talked about this before. And, but I think firing a coach in the NFL is meaningless in the middle of the season because you literally can't bring in somebody else that's going to affect your season at all. It's just kind of like, oh, well, we hate you so much. We want you out the door. And then who's left? All the people that he hired to be his coaches. So I think they're just going to run this year through. And I would be very surprised if he was back next year, Brian. And I think Rodgers may be done too after the year if he goes
through last week. Yeah, I mean, I just throwing balls on the ground. It was almost like, and I have to say this. It was almost like Zach Wilson was back. It was like the same passes on the ground, like rushed. Really, I couldn't believe it. I don't want to go into that. Okay.
Hey, you don't want to hear my thoughts on this?
Well, of course I do. Go ahead.
You were introduced first. We don't need your thoughts on that.
That's true.
What's your thoughts on Robert Saleh?
I don't think you should fire a coach in the middle of the season. I don't think that's going to change anything. I was watching that Jets game and agree. Aaron Rodgers, I saw him roll out for a first down, and I'm like, man, he looked every one of those 41 years or however old he is. And honestly, I'm not even a Jets fan, and I can't imagine, Brian, how infuriating this is to you. The Jets just make these boneheaded plays, like, oh, we're going to sign Brett Favre, and that's going to save our franchise. Now we're going to sign Aaron Rodgers, and it's like, why? And like hire like the hot coordinator. It's like Robert Salah was a great defensive coordinator in San Francisco and great motivator and did a great job. To be a first-time head coach in New York, of all places, is so hard. And of course, Robert Salah is going to take that chance and say like, yeah, I'm betting on me and I want to be a head coach. And I don't realize the hot plate I'm getting into in New York. But I'm like, why do they hire? It's like the Jets shoot themselves in the foot. Like,
Every time.
41 year
Every
old
time.
41-year-old quarterback. He's older than the coach, first time head coach. I'm like, just tear it down and like do this right. What a mess the Jets are. It's like there's so much potential with that defense, and they just do boneheaded things.
That's the thing is we're
Zach
going to lose that.
Wilson. I'm like,
Yeah,
what are you
there's going to
doing?
be we're going to lose that whole that this the defenses stay together 3-4 years and they kind of then they start drifting off and the salaries get too high and this is going to happen with them and they're not going to and then it's going to fall apart. We're going to lose that chance and because I really think they have good receivers, they have good running backs.
Yeah,
So what's the problem?
great
Offensive
defense.
line, okay, but it was not that's not what the problem was last week. Lazard gets a unsportsmanlike conduct call on a first down that probably cost us a touchdown. And another time we were on the goal line and they didn't bring Allen in to rush. I don't know what I just and who is the problem? It's the coach. There's no discipline. There's no repercussions. And even this week, that people are asking him, "Hey, what are you going to do about all the penalties? Are you going to discipline your players?" He goes, "No, they're all grown men. They know what to do." What?
That game against the Broncos, that's the cure for insomnia right there. That was a terrible, terrible game to watch. Just
I know. I was miserable. I was so
so
mad. I
bad
just,
watching. Was
The
it
yeah, I
one,
know.
the
10-9?
one way he could get fired is if Aaron Rodgers goes and says, "Let him go," but make Nathaniel Hackett the head coach.
Oh
Which would
my
be terrible
goodness.
too, right? How terrible would that be?
Oh my
I know,
goodness.
but
What a clown
he's
show that
Rodgers'
would be.
buddy. That's why he got hired.
Yeah.
He's Rodgers' buddy.
That's the inmates running the asylum if that happens.
Yeah,
Wasn't
Yeah.
Nathaniel Hackett the coach in Denver and an unmitigated disaster?
yeah,
Yep.
because he didn't
Yeah.
have Aaron Rodgers as his quarterback.
Yeah.
Right? That's where he made his name, when Aaron Rodgers was
Sure.
quarterback.
So
Yeah.
it's a best guy. And what's funny is as we segue into the next topic, I have a lot of Salah is the players love him. He's a good person, really good person. Very probably a wonderful man if you get to know him. He's probably a good
Seems
guy.
great. Seems cool.
You watch him; he's a good motivator. He's a good speaker. Um, very similar to our coach at the Yankees, Aaron Boone, who I don't feel is a very good X's and O's coach, but players love him. He stands by his people, and he's a good person. But that doesn't always make a good coach. So we're going to segue into baseball now. It's the baseball playoffs. Things are getting crazy. Alex, you go first this time. Baseball so far, where we are, what are your thoughts about the baseball playoffs and who do you eventually think is going to come out ahead?
Well, I'll start in the NL. Our local team, the Mets, none of us are diehard Met fans, but follow them closely. So they're 1-1 with the Brewers. And, I have confidence that they're going to win. They've done it all year. They've come back, which isn't typical Mets fashion, where you're down in the seventh and eighth inning and you hit a home run to win the game. Those types of things. And I think the Mets have done that all year. So I think the Mets have a good chance, but we'll see. They're past their number 1 and 2 pitchers, as is Milwaukee. So you never know when you start to get to those 3, 4, and 5 pitchers in the playoffs. So, but I like the format. I mean, we should talk for a minute about the format, right? Like the wild card, where it's best of 3,
Yes,
and
that's
you
so
play.
much better.
Love it.
That's so much better.
Yeah,
Awesome.
and you play all the games at the team that earned the
Yeah.
higher seed, which I think is
Yeah.
great.
Awesome.
So that's been great. The Braves got swept out again, which is amazing, by San Diego. So if the Mets lose, it doesn't look so good for the NL East. I mean, I know the Phillies made it through with the second best record. So they will have to face, if the Mets lose, they'll have to face the Brewers. But, so the NL is looking pretty good. I think it's, going a little bit according to plan. Whereas in the AL, Detroit, the number 6
Wow.
seed, beat Houston, swept them out 2-0 in Houston, which was amazing. Detroit's payroll was like just under $19 million. The entire team is under $19 million, right? That's in the playoffs. Houston had 4 players making more than that per year. 4 guys. So, and then Kansas City swept out the Orioles. So Kansas City, the 5 seed, moves on. So the Yankees will play Kansas City. Harkens back to the 80s, and those two teams battling in the late 70s and early 80s every year for the AL championship. So I think it'll be a good series. I think it'll be close. It'll be a defensive struggle. So if the Yankees hit, they're going to win. But I think it's going to be a run and gun sort of series. And I think every time KC gets on, they're going to run against the Yankees catchers. So should be a good series. And then the Guardians in Detroit, the Central's meeting there. So it's the teams know each other very well. And it'll be interesting to see how the Guardians play it against Detroit, who's just on a massive roll right now. So, but you got to remember, Detroit's 1 and 2 pitchers are, they're probably not going to be able to make the first start of the series because they just pitched in the wild card series. So it really puts those wild card teams at a disadvantage coming in, and we'll see how the other teams react to it.
Which is what baseball kind of wants, right? Like they want there to be a quote unquote punishment for those wild card teams. They got to throw their best guys in a 2 out of 3 series. If it goes 3, their top 3 pitchers are there. And then it's like, oh, now our 4th guy is going in game 1 against the higher seed. And obviously you want your higher seeds to advance as far as possible in general, particularly when they're big market teams. But with the Orioles losing and the Astros losing, because when we talked earlier about baseball, I think we all viewed the Astros as the biggest threat to the Yankees. We didn't think the Guardians were that threat because the Yankees kind of hammered them when they met, about a month or so ago. Do you think all the pressure now is on the Yankees? Like, they can't blow this now.
Yeah.
Can they?
Yes.
I mean,
yeah.
Like, what else can you ask for with this team? It's like you've got the Guardians, who you're only 2 games better than in record, but should be able to blast that team. The Royals are exciting young team. Bobby Witt Jr. is making his star turn. For folks that don't know who he is, he's already probably better than his dad, who was a pretty good player and a highly regarded prospect. But so cool to see the Tigers, and they might be the wild card, no pun intended here, because they've been on fire.
And the Tigers, they have good pitching.
And it's a hot team, right? Now they're coming in. What are they won, I think, 31 out of the last 43 to barrel into playoff contention and get in there. And like, they're, to me, maybe the scary team there. Like, what are you going to get from the Tigers? But for me, it's like, here you go, Yankees. It's been so long since you've been to the World Series. Massive payroll. It's put up or shut up time now for the Yankees. They've got to win the pennant. Like, heads have to roll if they don't get to at least to the World Series this year, I would think.
And they should. I mean, I think they should get to the World
There's
Series.
No reason why not.
We'll see. Yeah. But this whole line of the analytics guys came up with was, the playoffs are just a crapshoot. Like, what is that? Like, I hear that all the time. Like, Brian Cashman saying, we do all our analytics around the regular season, and you have to win the regular season, and then, the playoffs are a crapshoot. So are you telling me the 5 championships that they won, that was a crapshoot? Like, give me a break. So you get no credit for that at all because it was just a crapshoot? Like, no way. That's not a crapshoot.
What makes it a crapshoot?
They're saying analytically, like, because the sample size is so small that, it's different than regular season games and all this stuff. Yeah, that all these analytic guys are quoting that now.
Well, yeah, but see, the thing is, so baseball is you take the ball, you go out there and play. One game to the next. Usually, there's not a carryover, which is very cool about baseball because you have a different pitcher and you have different situations, and sometimes you have different lineups. But I'm still saying, on any given day, any team can win because you just never know what's going to happen. A pitch could go wrong. A bad pitch comes in. Somebody hits a home run that you didn't expect. It's. I don't know. I hear you, and I actually understand where they're coming with on that. I just don't agree with it.
Yeah. What do you think about the NL, Bryan?
Yeah. So here's. Yeah. I'm big on the Yankees. I think the Tigers. I like watching the Tigers a lot. So the NL is kind of interesting. The Phillies, I think. The Phillies want to play the Dodgers. I think the Phillies could beat the Dodgers. Dodgers are tough. Dodgers don't have a big, long lineup, though. You go past the 4th guy, you're hitting guys are batting low 200s. But they have pitching, but they don't have the right pitching because a lot of guys are hurt. So I think they're going to walk Otani all the time. Hopefully, Mookie Betts is still there. And Mookie Betts is great. Top four hitters of the Dodgers are pretty tough. But if you're smart and you walk the right guys and you pitch around them, you're gonna limit them. I'm not a big fan of the Padres, but who's been their star right now is Kyle
Higashioka.
who was a Yankee guy. Definitely, like I love to see him hit home runs. I was rooting for him so hard, but I'm not a Padres fan. Um,
And
I
Michael
think
King
the
too.
Phillies. Yeah,
They
King
got
was
Michael
awesome too.
King.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was one
Yeah.
of my fantasy guys. I King was great. That was a great. Again, Sosa. We got our guy, but I think we gave them some good players.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting. The Padres. Could the Padres upset somebody? Maybe, but I still think the Phillies are gonna. I think when we talk about this later, it's going to be Yankees Phillies. That's kind of what I'm thinking.
93 repeat.
Yeah, it could be.
Padres were one of my dark horses coming into the season. I think they're upsetting the Dodgers.
They
Yeah.
could. And again,
The
Mike, you're right because
Musgrove
they could if they're
injury,
smart. Because
yeah,
you
Joe
like
Musgrove
Otani
got
should
hurt.
never bat. Like you should just never pitch to him.
Yeah, why
Don't
bother?
pitch to him.
Exactly. But they do have Joe Musgrove came out yesterday with an injury, so he's going to get his elbow checked. But yeah, like their top of their pitching staff is good. I mean, they've got some big time hitters, right? They got Manny Machado. I mean, there's Luis
Tatis.
Arias. I mean, there's some good players on this team, and they took care of the Braves like fairly comfortably. I mean, it's the Braves. You never know what you're going to get the Braves in the playoffs. They had a lot of injuries, but another team that I think like the Padres have been consistent all season. They've been hanging around, and they were only 5 games back of the Dodgers. And I think there's always pressure on the Dodgers. The only World Series they've won in this great run was that 50 game season, which to me doesn't even count. That's like the Lakers winning the bubble.
You're right. The bubble.
Championship. This is like the bubble championship. They played 50 games. The Dodgers won the World Series. So I'm like, they haven't won one. And I agree, Brian. I would not let Otani beat us at all if I'm the
No,
Padres.
you can't, and that's the best way to. And again, playoff baseball is different. You can do that. You're going to do that, and they're going to do it, and they're going to pitch around them. They have to do that. There's no reason that. So make other guys beat you. Like that's what's gonna be. Now they do have one of the best other guys in Betts.
Yeah, he's great.
So that could happen. But Betts can get hot and carry a team too. The rest of their team are either older stars or guys who just can't hit 200. There's like some of their guys were barely scraping the Mendoza line.
Yeah, what's interesting, if the Mets win, the one bracket will be the NL East, Mets and Phillies. The other bracket will be the NL West, San Diego and LA.
Wow. Yeah.
And then you'll have the AL Central in Detroit and Cleveland, but then the Yankees and if Baltimore had won, it would have been the AL East. Yeah. So it was
but
like
see, the Yankees Royals. The Yankees Royals is one of the most traditional playoff rivalries ever. So I like that.
Yeah.
I think that's cool.
It's good. It's good.
There's going to be a George Brett sighting when the first game in Kansas City. Hal McRae might be there. Like who knows? And they're going to be there.
Preparation H.
Yeah.
Remember when George Brett had hemorrhoids in the playoffs?
That's right. That's right.
Pine tar all over the place. It's Paul Splittorff maybe Paul Splittorff will be there. Yeah, it's crazy. I think that's so cool that they're playing again. I love they're big time rivals, and that's great. Better than the Red Sox. I'm sick of the Red Sox rivalry. But I would like to see the Yankees Orioles because Baltimore leads that, but Baltimore choked. I'm sorry. Yeah. I never thought that they would lose that series. No way.
And I think I saw they had
fountain out there.
What was that, Mike?
Do the Royals still have that fountain out in the outfield? Do they still play?
I think so. I think they do.
The coolest thing, like a fountain. Yeah.
I think I heard today that the Orioles didn't even sell out the second game of the playoffs.
I wish I was thinking of. It's pretty funny. Again, if they were going to play the Yankees, I actually reserved a couple hotel rooms just in case. Now I already just canceled them.
Really? Okay.
Because I was going to go out to a game if the Yankees played out there. But okay.
All right.
Okay, so I think that's crazy. My whole thing. So I'll tell you right now, my picks are Yankees, Phillies. What are your guys' picks?
I definitely Yankees, and I think it's a safe pick with the Phillies because that atmosphere to me would make the Dodgers or Padres potentially just fold up. I can just see that. That is a tough place to play in the fall, and then you're talking about a West Coast team that's going to be coming east, probably cold, hopefully cold. It's nothing. There's nothing cooler than a freezing cold night in a playoff game, Major League Baseball playoff game. So I think it's a safe bet, Phillies and Yankees. Even though I did like the Padres all season, I think I'll go with the Phillies and Yankees. Definitely the Yankees.
I'm gonna go Yankees Mets because I think
So
I'm gonna be a homer.
Oh, you
I'm
know how
gonna say
great that would be.
Yankee
That
and
would be
Mets.
Oh, but that's what we wish. Like to have
But
that Subway Series again, it would be
they
so
just
much fun.
they just seem like a team of destiny this
They
year.
do.
You know,
They do.
like they keep
I
pulling them
love
out. They keep
Lindor.
pulling them
I
out.
love
Yeah,
Lindor. That home run he hit
player.
was
yeah.
just amazing. It's like it was one of the best baseball games I've ever seen.
I
I
don't
just
think I don't
yeah.
think he thought he got that either. I think he thought that was going to get caught. If you watch his reaction, because it went off the end of the bat, and if you watch his reaction right after he hits it, they've actually showed it in slow mo a couple times. He's like, "Oh no," and he kind of puts his head down, and then it goes over the wall. And obviously, we know what happened after that. But I'm going to go Yankees Mets just because I think the Mets, if they get past tonight, I really think they
Guys,
can
though,
go on a
I
roll.
have to say, if it's Yankees Mets, I think I'd be worried about that series.
Yeah, I think the Mets are good. That they're
I
pulling
think the
everything
Mets
out.
could beat the Yankees. I really do.
Yeah,
Well, even
yeah.
though right now I think the Phillies could beat the Yankees, but again, you still got a couple, a week or two away, and any injuries happen and things happen. So who knows what's gonna.
Yeah,
It's a great turnaround for the Mets. Great story.
yeah.
If Kyle Higashioka, I'm not going to say his name anyway.
Higashioka.
Yeah, Higashioka. If he hits more home runs, he might be the new Mr. October.
Good
The guy
riddance.
was. I love that. I was like, he comes up and I go, wonder if he's going to hit another home run. Crack! He hits one. I was like so happy for the guy. Like,
Yeah.
he's no one expected that with him. He
He was
definitely had
good
his
on the
best year.
Yankees. He was good on the Yankees. He just couldn't hit.
Yeah.
Like one spring training, he led spring training, I think 2 years ago in home runs. He had like 7 home runs. I'm like, oh, the guy, he's breaking out. This is going to be, and he started the season. That was like, I think he had 1 home run that year. I'm like, what happened?
But he had his best year home run wise this year. But he never has a good average.
Yeah.
But again, he's a great catcher, and the pitchers love pitching
Yes.
to him. That's another big thing. Pitchers love pitching to the guy.
Yeah.
So, well, let's see what happens. It's fun. This is great. I'm looking forward to like all these games. The wild card first couple of days with all the games in the afternoon. That was great. It was great. A
Yeah,
lot
the
of fun.
game after game. Yeah, the afternoon games are great. All right, 2 o'clock
And
game, 5 o'clock game. It's very cool.
and like 4 games in one day, back to back to
Yeah,
back to back. Yeah, it was
awesome.
good.
I love that
Yeah.
stuff. It's great. Well, let's see what happens, guys. We'll obviously report on this next week. See where we stand. We know who our choices are. The last thing before we close, I have to ask you a question.
Uh-oh.
Caitlyn Clark won the Rookie of the Year, but one person did not give her a first place vote, and they voted for Angel Reese. Who was this person? Do we know that yet? How could that be?
Angel Reese had a great
She had
season.
a great year. Yeah.
Fantastic. She set like records for double doubles. I mean,
She
she
set
was
records where her coach padded the stats for her. I mean, come
she
on.
was legit. She's
Jeez.
a great player. I when she got injured and got shut down for the season though, she went on Instagram and was talking about, oh, nobody believed in me. I was like, nobody believed in you. You're like a top 5 pick, and you've been fantastic all year.
Well,
I'm
now
like,
she's walking around with no cast on. So, like, what kind of, I mean, did she really hurt herself? I think it was a fake. I think it's all fake.
Wow.
I think they were both great. If they had both gotten, if
They were
shared
tanking to
rookie
get
of
the
the year, I
draft
think
pick.
it
They were
was-
tanking for the draft pick. So, anyway, okay, that's it. I just don't know who that one person was, but obviously they're going to find out.
Who didn't vote for Jeter?
Yeah, exactly.
That is true. Like, what? Yeah. People hold grudges. Yeah, I mean, I tell you, if I was one of those voters, I would hold a grudge on certain.
I totally would.
Oh,
Yeah.
I admit I would.
Though I would say, I have to tell you, Alex, I have very much softened on Eli Manning. I really have.
oh, dude, he's
I've
in.
softened on him. No, I think you know what? He deserves it
Yeah.
because at the time, I was like, okay, he's not some of these other guys, but then I'm looking at these other guys that get in, and I'm like, he's way better than any of those guys. So
Yeah.
I'm okay with him. Let him make the Hall of Fame. I want him to make the Hall of Fame. Now, he
And
deserves it.
football, like if you're going to
deserves
look at record in football, that's crazy. Like it's 11. You need like 22 guys to be good to win.
Yeah.
It's not like you can just win because one guy's good. You need to have a great GM that builds a great team. And if all that takes place, then you could say, oh yeah, well, they won like Tom Brady, right? Like he won tons of games. He won tons of Super Bowls. Like everything worked out because they had that great foundation of people. You can't, like looking at the Giants and saying, oh, his record was 500. Yeah, but I mean, come on, they didn't have a great foundation, and he won when he needed to win. So
He won 2 great Super Bowls.
Yeah, he went to a
yeah,
great Super Bowl.
I mean,
That's
that-
him and Jim Plunkett. They did that, and there you go. I'm
yeah.
gonna say he deserves it. He deserves it. I will say it
Right.
here. I hope I don't jinx the guy, but he deserves it.
They should put him in and take Joe Namath out, Brian.
No.
I'm up for that. Yeah, Joe Namath.
No.
What's his record? He's probably under 500.
Joe was the first
Horrendous.
quarterback. Joe was the first quarterback to throw for 4,000 yards at a time when no one did that, and now it's like normal, right?
In
But when
one
he did it,
season?
nobody did that. I'm
In one
sorry, guys.
season?
Joe was way better than he's the best quarterback in New York history
No,
by far. By far. Okay.
no way. All
He's not
right.
even better than Chad Pennington.
No better than Chet. Better than Norm Snead or Fran Tarkenton.
I think Zach Wilson's numbers are better than Joe
No.
Namath.
I know. I have to say, Ken O'Brien had some damn good numbers that no one ever gives him any credit. But
I
they
had.
didn't win. They
Richard
didn't
Todd.
win. They didn't win. That's the whole problem. They didn't win.
Richard Todd had good numbers.
I think Alex gets some additional street cred because remember Alex made this point about comparing Trevor Lawrence's stats to some others, and now Trevor Lawrence is potentially getting benched. Who are those guys that you compared him to, Alex? And the stats were comparable?
Mac Jones and Daniel Jones.
Yeah, nuts. I never would have guessed that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Trevor Lawrence is a bum now. He's a bum.
He's like just another quarterback.
But his
right?
offensive line is terrible.
Time for the CFL. Yeah,
Sure.
but that's what they said about Zach Wilson. Like, again, he was picked ahead of Zach Wilson, but Zach Wilson had just a worse offensive line
Yeah.
and
But
worse
that-
receivers receivers.
Yeah, that's my point. Like you can be a great player, but if you have a terrible offensive line, you're not going to be good, because you can't do your job if you're getting knocked over every single, like
Well,
Daniel Jones
you
last
look
year.
at so here's my comparison. Back when the Saints were not a good team, Archie Manning was the quarterback, and again, arguably, I think he was better than either of his kids. But you're never going to know that because he was on a bad team, right? But he had Danny Abramowitz as his wide receiver. That was it. He had no one. And he had the Tom Dempsey. But the thing was, he was in every game. People were scared of him because no matter how bad the Saints were, they could win any game at any time because he was just that crazy of a quarterback. He could just make things happen with bad people. Those are the kind of guys that are for these bad teams that make it happen. That's the one. Like Trevor Lawrence. He should be able to do something to make his team win. But you know what? I think in college he was so like catered to and whatever, and he had the whole world revolve around him. Now when he has adversity, he doesn't deal with it very well. It's obvious.
Yeah, I just think now more than ever, right, with all the injuries. Like, look at all the injuries you have. All the speed in the game, it's like so much faster, and quarterbacks just get killed. Like, and I realize there's all these rules against them, but they go 5 wideouts, 4 wideouts. They're not protecting the quarterback like they used to when Archie was playing, where he could run around for 5 minutes, and there's 2 running backs that are blocking for him. And these guys with the speed and the agility, they just hit these guys so hard. It's like, quarterback gets hit 3 times in a game, is like, forget it. Like, I'm not going through my progressions. I'm looking at the first guy and I'm throwing it because I don't want to get killed. But
all that said, Joe Flacco's back and he threw for over 200 yards last week.
yeah,
I can't believe that guy's still in the NFL. I can't believe he's still in the NFL, and he's still good.
and he was terrible on the Jets.
Terrible
and
on the Jets.
He was good on the Browns, and now he's good at the Colts.
He's going to carry the Colts into the playoffs. Watch.
Now, should he be in the Hall of Fame, Alex?
Joe Flacco?
He won a Super Bowl.
Yeah, but then win
So
one
did
Super
Trent
Bowl.
Dilfer.
Yeah, I mean, I don't.
Mark Rippon won a Super Bowl too.
Yeah, He had a great year that year. I mean, not
Ripken?
a career, but a great year. Yeah.
Rippin?
Yeah.
He's awesome.
He had a couple
That
good
year
years.
was crazy.
Didn't he come in because Jay Schrader got hurt?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, had a great year.
Jay Schrader, he got Yankees farm team. Okay, so thanks, guys. I think this was a great night. A lot of cool conversation. I love the way we rattled around and jumped from one thing to another with great segues from one crazy topic to another. And we will see how the things progress. So, Alex, where can everybody find us?
So we are at 3 The Hard Way Sports on Threads. That's where we do the majority of our posting. And you can also find us on 3 The Hard Way Sports on Facebook. And you can email us at info@3thehardway.com if there's anything that you want to comment about the show or present any topics. And our podcast is on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. So you can find us anywhere you want. We're out there.
Okay, and Mike, where are you signing autographs this week anywhere?
I will be at the Washington, D.C. Oktoberfest, roaming the streets.
Good.
So come and find me.
Thank you. Go find Mike, get his autograph. Okay. Have a great day, everybody.
All right.
See
Have
ya.
a good night. Enjoy baseball.
Cincinnati